Okay, so you sent over some really interesting material on Stoicism and the cultivation of gut instinct.
Yeah.
And it immediately made me think about that feeling we all get sometimes, you know, that inner nudge, that gut feeling. It often pops up even when logic maybe points somewhere else. Could be saving you from a bad move or maybe pointing you towards something amazing.
It's definitely a universal thing, isn't it? That immediate kind of subconscious feeling when you have to make a call. But the real deep dive, like your sources explore, is about, well, first understanding it and then crucially trusting it. That's where the wisdom lies, really.
Exactly. So today on the deep dive, that's our mission. We want to unpack this powerful link between gut feelings and Stoicism, that ancient philosophy.
Yeah.
We're going to look at how Stoic ideas can actually help you get better at interpreting your intuition. You know, figure out when to really listen to it and hopefully make decisions that feel more informed and confident, more aligned with you.
Yeah. And the sources you shared are packed with practical stuff, tips on how to actually harness this inner voice, not just, you know, have a feeling, but actually cultivate it.
Right. So maybe just as we start, it's worth asking yourself, when is the last time your gut feeling really made a difference for you? We throw the term gut instinct around a lot, but what is it really? How would you describe that feeling? It can be pretty fleeting sometimes, but powerful.
Well, at its heart, gut instinct is that really immediate, often subconscious reaction you have to something. It's less a step-by-step thought process, more like an instant knowing. But what's really incredible, and your material touches on this, is the psychology behind it. It's not magic. These feelings, they come from the brain's amazing ability to process just tons of information super quickly. It pulls from your past experiences, emotions, everything you've learned, basically, in milliseconds.
And the sources mention something called thin slicing. Can you break that down a bit? What's going on in our heads there?
Sure. Thin slicing, yeah. It's this phenomenon where we make pretty accurate judgments or decisions, like really fast, blink of an eye fast, based on very little obvious information. The key thing isn't just speed, though. It's that trusting that immediate take often means you're trusting like a summary of more data than you could ever consciously sift through. Your brain's just accessing its huge internal library, you know?
Wow. So it's not just some random flicker then. It's more like a prediction engine built from your life, everything you've been through.
Yeah. Constantly
updating based on what happens next. Our instincts are really shaped by our unique lives, our feelings, even just where we are at that moment.
Precisely. And this is where the Stoics come in. Way before neuroscience, they had this really insightful framework for mastering this raw impulse. Stoicism, you know, founded by people like Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius. It really emphasizes rationality, self-control. They saw the value in intuition, definitely. But they insisted it had to be maybe tempered is the word, or refined perhaps by reason.
Yeah, they definitely weren't saying ignore your gut. That's a common misunderstanding about Stoicism, right? Their whole thing was about balance. Finding that sweet spot between emotion and reason. Gut feelings give you that initial spark, that insight maybe, but it's rational thought that should guide the actual action, the wise action.
Exactly right. So the Stoic approach isn't about shutting intuition down. It's about cultivating a rational mindset alongside it.
Yeah.
It's about critical reflection, asking yourself, okay, I have this strong feeling. Does it actually line up with my values, my long-term goals? That process turns a raw feeling into a much more thoughtful, deliberate choice.
Okay, so if our gut is trying to tell us something, how do we even pick up on it? It's not always a shout. Sometimes it's more like a whisper.
It often starts with just tuning into your body. Those physical sensations we tend to ignore. You know, that knot in your stomach when something feels wrong, or maybe a feeling of lightness or ease when something feels right. These aren't just random body noises. They're often really key signals, indicators of your instinct kicking in.
And I guess this is where practices like mindfulness really make sense. Things like meditation or even just taking a few deep breaths. It seems like that could really boost your self-awareness, help you notice those subtle cues that you might otherwise just miss in the noise of everyday life.
Absolutely. And it's also about looking back, reflecting on your past experiences. Think about decisions you've made before. Did you have a similar feeling? How did that turn out? Your own history is like a training ground for your intuition. It builds this unique pattern recognition system just for you.
Right. So once you start recognizing that voice, the next hurdle, and it can be a big one, is actually trusting it. You hear these amazing stories, especially with entrepreneurs, right? Making huge business calls based purely on a gut feeling, and it leads to something totally new.
It's true. Those stories are compelling. But let's be honest, it's completely normal to feel, well, scared or doubtful about relying on intuition, especially when the stakes feel high. We worry, about messing up or what other people will think if we make a choice that doesn't seem purely logical. So how do you handle that fear?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where practice comes in, like the sources suggest. Your intuition isn't some, mystical force floating out there. It's fed by your experiences, your emotions. So maybe start small. Practice trusting those little nudges in everyday stuff. Choosing what to eat, maybe picking a movie, deciding on a hobby. The more you consciously listen and act on those smaller feelings, the more confidence you build for the bigger decisions down the line.
And this brings us back to Stoicism again. It offers some really powerful, practical ways to refine these gut-driven decisions. One technique is called negative visualization.
Negative visualization. That sounds a bit gloomy.
Huh. It can sound that way, but it's not about being pessimistic. It's about deliberately imagining potential negative outcomes of a decision you're considering. What could go wrong? How would that feel? Doing this actually helps clarify what's really important to you, what you truly stand to lose. It lets you weigh your gut feeling against those potential downsides much more clearly.
Okay, that makes sense. Sort of stress testing the decision. And another one is detachment. That's a core Stoic idea. But if you're trying to make a big decision, wouldn't detaching emotionally kind of risk ignoring the very gut feeling we're trying to listen to?
That's a really important distinction. Stoic detachment isn't about being cold or numb or ignoring your feelings altogether, not at all. It's more about taking a step back emotionally from the immediate situation. This allows you to evaluate your instincts more objectively. It helps reduce the noise, the influence of maybe immediate fear or anxiety that could be clouding your judgment. It's about separating the true gut feeling from the static.
Got it. So it's about clarity, not apathy. Seeing the situation clearly, not just through the lens of your immediate reaction. And journaling. Your sources mention journaling too, which a lot of people find helpful anyway.
Yes, journaling is incredibly effective for this kind of reflection. Actually writing down your thoughts, your feelings about a situation, what your initial gut reaction was, and then maybe what your logical brain says afterwards. Doing this helps you spot patterns over time. It's almost like having a slow, written conversation with yourself, your intuition. You gain really deep insights into how your gut reacts and why.
When you look at intuition really working for people, the examples are pretty powerful. Steve Jobs comes to mind. He famously relied on his gut for huge decisions at Apple, like the iPhone. It wasn't all market research, was it? It was this inner conviction. And look what happened.
Absolutely. Or think about Oprah Winfrey. She often talks about how gut feelings guided her major career moves, building this whole media empire from, initially a talk show. These aren't just lucky breaks. When you analyze these stories, you see a pattern. Decisions guided by this kind of cultivated intuition can lead to really breakthrough results and a lot of personal fulfillment too.
It definitely makes you think about your own life, doesn't it? Those times when you did trust your gut and it led somewhere great, maybe somewhere unexpected. Now, while intuition is clearly this amazing internal compass, the sources also flag some common pitfalls, things that can lead us astray. Overthinking is a big one. I think we can all relate to that.
Oh, absolutely. Getting stuck in that loop of doubt, second-guessing that initial feeling, it just clouds everything. It can paralyze you, really, make you miss opportunities because you're just analyzing things to death, effectively silencing that intuitive voice.
And then there are external pressures. Society, family, friends, everyone has an opinion, right? How much does that outside noise distort things, make us ignore what we actually feel deep down?
It's a huge factor. It's so easy to let what other people think or what seems like the sensible path from the outside drown out your own instincts. You end up choosing what looks good or what's expected instead of what genuinely feels right to you, like static interfering with your internal signal.
Yeah. And cognitive biases, the sources bring these up too. Our brains have these little shortcuts, right? But they can mess things up, like confirmation bias, where you only look for stuff that proves you're right. Or anchoring, like you mentioned earlier, getting stuck on the first piece of info you hear. These biases can seriously warp how we see things, leading us to make choices that actually go against our gut.
So knowing all this, how do we actually strengthen that intuitive muscle? Make it clearer, more reliable. Your material suggests some really practical exercises.
Right, let's get practical. Daily meditation is mentioned first. How does just sitting quietly for a bit each day help you connect with your gut feeling? Seems simple.
It's about creating quiet. Even just a few minutes helps calm that constant mental chatter. When your mind is quieter, you create space. Space to actually hear those subtler signals from your intuition, the ones usually drowned out by the daily flood of thoughts and worries.
Okay, so it's like turning down the volume on the noise to hear the actual message. Makes sense. And the decision journal again. How does writing stuff down really refine instinct? Is it just pattern spotting, or is there something more going on?
It's definitely pattern spotting, but it's also about self-awareness. When you track your instincts, what you felt, what you decided, what happened, you build this personal feedback loop. You start to see clearly, okay, that kind of feeling usually points me right. Or, when I feel this, it's often fear talking, not intuition. It helps you calibrate your inner compass.
Calibrate, I like that. And finally, visualization.
Sure.
People talk about this for goals, but how does it apply to strengthening gut instinct specifically?
It's about running simulations in your mind. Take a choice you're facing. Spend a little time vividly imagining different scenarios, different outcomes. As you play these out mentally, pay attention to your gut reaction to the visualization itself. You might feel a pull towards one scenario or a resistance to another. It helps clarify your instincts before you have to act in the real world. Reveals what feels truly aligned.
So we've really covered a lot of ground here, explored what gut instinct is, where it comes from psychologically, and crucially, how Stoicism gives us these really practical tools. Tools to not just have gut feelings, but to cultivate them, understand them, and trust them more wisely. It's that blend of rationality and mindfulness.
Exactly. By bringing these Stoic ideas into practice, the reflection, the detachment, the visualization, you can start making decisions that feel more authentic. Decisions that really resonate with your values and your long-term sense of purpose. But remember, like any skill, honing your intuition takes ongoing practice. Self-reflection is key.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. If your gut instinct really is like a lifetime of your own experience and emotion, all distilled into one quick feeling, what crucial piece of wisdom might you be ignoring right now? What's waiting to be heard?